go in three, two, one. Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast, where we talk all things volunteer sports. Today, I get the duty of hosting Dakota because Blake is out. Special guest Dakota is filling in for my brother Blake, who is typically my co-host and doing the whole hosting role. But today, joined by Dakota. If you're a longtime viewer of the show, Dakota's been on several times. He joined us for our season review for the football year. Dakota, we got a pretty jam-packed show. A lot of news came out very recently, specifically with Joey Aguilar. That's kind of the big topic of the day. Joey Aguilar, unfortunately, was denied eligibility. So we'll kind of get into that and what that means for the QB battle in 2026, which I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on, and then some basketball and baseball updates as well. But before we get into all that, as a lot of you all probably know, unfortunately, Wes Rucker, longtime beat writer of Tennessee sports, unfortunately died in a car crash this past week. Very unfortunate news. Just wanted to touch on that real quick and just shout out his family, and also really shout out Vol Nation, man. The response has been unbelievable on social media. His sister set up a GoFundMe, and it's like $600,000 or close to that, which is unreal, man. And also shout out really the greater sports media as well. College football media has kind of stepped up and donated to that. But I think it really starts with All Nation, man. Like right when it happened, the support that they poured out for Wes and his family. And dude, I mean, it's the motion of all Twitter too. Like I think the big names like Kirk Herbstreit, who's donated, Scott Van Pelt, who's donated, you probably don't see that without, Vol Twitter and its passion. So just, obviously prayers to the Rucker family, and also shout out to what I think is the best fan base in the nation for stepping up and supporting a guy who's always covered the Vols with passion and did a great job doing it.
Yeah, fantastic words there for him. Was loved listening and watching him over the years, and I think a testament to the work that he put in for the Vols and this fan base appreciation of people like that. And really, really tragic news, but the response by this fan base is incredible. And then to your point, I don't think it ripples throughout. Josh Pate had his little comment too, though, about, his history with him and a really cool interaction. So, but the fans and their response to spread that and get big names like Kirk to help donate and support his family. Because, their son had gone through some tough times when they had Hank, and then he had actually battled back from a stroke and was having to kind of relearn to walk and stuff. So like their family had been through a lot of tough times. So that'll definitely help support his family and on such a just unfortunate and unnecessary event that happened. So definitely thoughts and prayers with the Rucker family for sure.
Yeah, it's tragic, man. I mean, my wife takes I-40 every day, so it's tough. It's really tough. Just be careful out there. And just appreciate who's close to you. I'll just say that.
Hug your loved ones.
Yeah, no question. But hopefully on not a little bit of a brighter note, we have to talk about Joey getting denied, but some other, I'd say good news and whatnot to talk about in the show. So like I said, we'll be going over Joey's eligibility, the QB battle, and some other updates. But before we get into it, if you like this show, we'd ask that you like and subscribe, please. If you appreciate watching Vol Talk, it really helps the channel. And recently we've hit 1,000 subscribers. Once again, thank you all for that. The continued support, we really appreciate. So, but Dakota, without further ado, let's get into the Joey Aguilar case. The last week when Blake and I discussed this, we felt optimistic. We felt pretty optimistic. Now, like they had their initial hearing and the judge was like, hey, if you come back with this info, we'll rehear it, whatever. But dude, I felt like at that point, especially with the recent history of the NCAA in these cases, that Joey was going to be granted eligibility in 2026. Around the midweek, Chris Lowe reported, hey, not so fast, like this might not actually happen. And sure enough, the news came out like yesterday that Joey wasn't going to be granted eligibility in 2026. Dude, we talked about it a little bit before we got on the show. kind of unbelievable how somehow as Vols fans we find our way into the one eligibility case that doesn't go the player's way, unfortunately. So yeah, man, what are your thoughts on that and just how it all played out?
Yeah, I think it stings more because of, to your point, like we're the one case where it didn't go our way. We're fresh off of two instances recently, right? With with Alabama basketball. Obviously that got undone, but like it still happened where they had to have a G League NBA player out on there on playing college basketball, and then Trinidad at Ole Miss just got his eligibility, which was a little different, trying to argue for like a red shirt, like retroactively, but still managed to win his case and just get granted another year of eligibility. So it is unfortunate because I mean, his case was very similar to Diego's, and Diego obviously in December of 24 ended up winning his case to get the eligibility to play last year and end up becoming a Heisman finalist. So it definitely sucks just seeing all the cases that went to for other teams went perfect for them,
I know.
and now we're sitting here as the one example where we either had the one judge who's like going to be unbiased or try
Yeah.
to your point before the show too of like too far in the other direction to be like, I'm not like those other guys.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
unfortunate, man.
It is really unfortunate. And yeah, you bring up the Diego case. I don't know if this is true. I heard it's the same judge that ruled over the Diego case as well. So don't really know what went wrong. I really don't understand what went wrong. I don't know what the game plan was. Like it felt like maybe they were underprepared in that initial hearing, and maybe that's where things went wrong. And again, these were just rumors, but I'm pretty positive the judge was a Tennessee graduate, and I also heard he had season tickets to Tennessee football. I I mean, if that's the case, dude, like, what are you doing? No one's gonna look at you differently. Everyone's giving these kids extra eligibility over the NCAA, and Joe and his lawyer found a way to be the one people that can't beat the NCAA in court. And Blake and I discussed in the last show, Dakota, that the NCAA lawyer just so happened to be a Tennessee grad as well. So I was kind of hoping that he would, maybe tank the
Mhm.
case and, maybe not fight as hard. But it didn't go our way, man. It did not go our way, which kind of completely changes the outlook of 2026. Our whole thought process all the way along, Dakota, has been, hey, did Aguilar's play fall off at the end of last year? Yes. However, if you got to pick one guy that gives us the best chance to win next year and is the safest bet, it was pretty much always going to be Joey Aguilar. Second year in the system, I think could have done wonders. Plus, he put us in a position to win a lot of games last year. So pretty unfortunate from that standpoint. But yeah, it kind of completely changes the outlook now going into next year.
Yeah, it really does. And it from what I read too, it sounded like it was maybe like a strategy difference that may have been the undoing for Aguilar, where it was more focused specifically to him and like what happened, like his experience with JUCO and lack of
Mm,
potential NIL earnings and like what that meant for him in his career. Where from what I've seen, Diego's was more like sport wide, NCAA wide, industry wide focus on like uh, situations and changes that they want sought out within the
mm.
NCAA. So in the end, that may have been the difference. That's just what I read.
Dang.
But who knows? At the end of the day, too, like I agree. Like you've said it best before this too. Of like Aguilar was our safest bet going in
Mhm.
the next year at quarterback by far because it is just pure unknown now. We don't know what to expect.
Exactly.
But the devil's advocate in me a little bit is like I'm glad we're moving away from letting guys play 7
Yeah.
years of
I
college
mean,
football. Of course, we're the one example where it starts from the starter. But if we
exactly.
could move away from a world where we have 23 to 25-year-olds renting cars and driving to
Mhm.
practice, then
Yeah.
it'd be
Dude,
nice.
yeah, I mean, listen, and that's also been Blake and I's one of our main points is that, you know, we, s- I mean, I support the NCAA's eligibility rules. There's not a lot of things I
Right.
support about the
Right.
NCAA, but I support their eligibility rules. Unfortunately, they have no power to enforce them. So very often they just don't matter at all. But listen, at the end of the day, I think the simplest solution is 5 years of eligibility, no matter what your past was. I think Joey's best case, which unfortunately it sounds like from what you read and what we've seen out of the court case, is that he didn't really use this, and his lawyer didn't really use this. But I think the best case is the NCAA doesn't actually rule over JUCO. So how
Right.
can they rule on eligibility based on JUCO and playing in JUCO? But it seems like that's not what they really did. They basically talked about Joey's NIL earnings, and from what I read is that they gave like a vague number without a lot of
Mhm.
evidence to back it up. And the judge didn't appreciate that, which is, I mean, it's just really unfortunate, man. Like, because he changed lawyers and the strategy was going to change. And it just, I mean, it seems like maybe they were underprepared, or just went about it the wrong way, that maybe caused this. But listen, I'm kind of right here with you. It sucks. It impacts us. Like, why did it have to be us first? But if this is like, if this is a sign of things to come, which unfortunately we actually don't know if it will be, but if this is a
Right.
sign of things to come where, okay, we're actually going to start enforcing eligibility rules in the NCAA, I think it's a sport wide win. But dude, I'm not very bullish on that. I actually am pretty pessimistic about that being the case. I think this was just a one time thing with a one time judge denying an injunction that probably won't lead to actual sport wide change, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I mean, having any faith in the NCAA doing something correct, like you said, the only thing you agree with them on, they can't even do it well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not likely. But and it because and who knows, because we're now officially like past this COVID era of athletes. Like he's probably like he might literally be the last person like in college football that had played during that time. So I guess we'll see now that we're past COVID that people stop digging up that season specifically looking for extra eligibility. But yeah, I don't have. I'm sure there's going to be these situations where some random guy manages to get to play until he's 27 again.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll just have to
exactly.
sit back and deal with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will say though, if the, I mean, and again, we kind of talked about this before the show too. You never know with like if they're gonna try to appeal it or what's gonna happen with
Right.
that. But I mean, it looks like the writing's on the wall. Like Joey Aguilar's college career is over. With that being said, thank you, Aguilar. You saved this
Yeah.
past season. You may have saved our coach's job. Because I mean, we need a QB in a pinch, man. And without Aguilar last year, the offense may not have achieved what it achieved. So, and literally fought through with a benign tumor in his throwing arm like the whole season, which is something that kind of goes under the radar. A lot of fans are pointing to why maybe that's why his play started to fall off
Mhm.
towards the end of the year. Very possible. I mean, I'm actually open to that as a possibility. I don't think that would be very comfortable throwing with a tumor in your arm. But overall, dude was just a great volunteer. Like hours after being denied eligibility, he actually went to the baseball game, which was really cool to see.
Mm.
Blake and I have always talked about, dude. It seems like former Tennessee Volunteer players it's just different, man, with how they handled their alma mater. They just it just feels like it means more to them than it does to other players. So thank you, Aguilar, for a great year. Unfortunately, we won't get that second year, which who knows what could have happened in year two, but was a great Tennessee Vol, man.
He was well said. Yeah, we talked on it a good bit on the review as well. Like, who knows what our record was this season without Aguilar? I think it's safe to say it was 6-6 at best,
At,
possibly. But
at best.
um,
Totally agree.
uh, so yeah, completely. We'll appreciate him for just keeping the program continuing to stay on track, that the trajectory it was on, and potentially saving Heupel's job. But even
Yeah.
just a greater scheme of just us on this trajectory that we were on. Without him, it doesn't happen. So we'll definitely be appreciative of his time here. And then you're right, man. Like you mentioning that just made me think about like you don't see that with Alabama. You don't see that with Georgia.
No,
Like you don't see guys have the love and passion for their alma mater like Tennessee fans do. It's it's
dude.
it's different, man. That orange in our veins that we bleed is different.
Bro, and really, I mean, and we'll probably touch on this throughout the show and multiple things, but I mean, kind of shows with the Wes Rucker thing. I mean, this
True.
community is totally different, dude. And Dakota, me and you both follow the NFL. So I'm actually interacting with other professional players that played in college. Like I'm following their careers. I just don't see them rep their college like Tennessee Volunteers rep their college, dude. I just don't see it. So I mean, it is totally different, man. It's and I think that's why a lot of people hate us because other fan bases because it is different. And it's a different level of passion. So but yeah, and I expect that out of Joey too. He'll be evolved for life as always. But yeah, anything else on Aguilar before we move on? The sport moves quickly, so we'll talk about next year now.
It does, man. It does. No, I think that. Yeah, I think we covered it well. Thank you, Joey, for your time. And yeah, unfortunate we won't get to see another season. Would have been exciting to see what he could have done with this receiving, like this offense
I
coming
know,
back almost fully intact. Man, who
I
knows?
know.
It'd be a big what if, what it could have been, but we have to move
However,
on.
those receivers and those offense will be here for the next
Yes.
quarterback. So listen, I think it's pretty clear what this QB battle is down to now. It's George McIntyre versus incumbent freshman Faison Brandon for QB1. And I think it will legitimately be a battle. I mean, if Aguilar came back, obviously we're not talking about that. Like he's going to be the starter, but with a redshirt freshman and a true freshman, who, by the way, that true freshman is like maybe the best QB prospect since, I don't know, Peyton, man. Like, I mean, he is a very highly touted prospect. So I could definitely see him competing for this job. And kind of the elephant in the room between GMAC and Faison, Dakota, which is what a lot of fans will talk about, is the size. Faison
Hmm.
is bigger right now than true. Like, I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, but I mean, in years, he's a sophomore in college. He's bigger than George McIntyre. So it's going to be a very interesting discussion. I will say before I kick it over to you, I don't think in the Heupel era there has been a quarterback set up to succeed more with offense around him. I think this offense around this quarterback is going to be one of the best, if not the best, under Heupel. The offensive line compared with the receiving talent coming back. I mean, whoever comes in and starts next year, Dakota, is set up to succeed, in my opinion.
That's honestly a really good point because even in the seasons where we had like a breakout, like Hendon Hooker in 22, like Hyatt, no one thought Hyatt was going to go win the Bolitnikoff. No one did.
No.
And then same thing with like Dante Thornton's breakout and Chris Brazel. Like no one really knew. We knew we had Mike Matthews and Staley coming back, but we hadn't seen much of them at all. And then
Yeah, they hadn't
now we
broken out
know,
yet.
yeah, no, we know what they are now. So it's a really good point. And yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens. I think obviously there's not going to be much discussion yet till we get into camp and people start asking Heupel questions and actually get them on the field. But and I don't think this will happen, but I just hope that there's not like going into this just wanting to redshirt phase on. Like, because if that is your desire, then I think it hinders the ability to truly let this be a competition and let him
Yeah.
win that job. And I don't think they would do that because of how good he looks at, and his size, everything about him. He just looks like a starting college quarterback already. Um, but I think that will play a role in it. If deep down they want to try to redshirt him just to hold on to another year of him, I think it'll impact things a bit. But yeah, I think it's wide open, man. I
I do
really do.
too. I do
And
too.
GMAC had impressive moments. Like we talked about it a lot last year. We didn't get to see a ton of him, but he
No.
was by far more impressive than Merklinger when he was out there. And
Totally agree.
so yeah, so we have that to base it off of a little bit, but then just I mean, seeing even just some of the I mean, I know it's the high school tape, man, but some of the throws and stuff Face Off does is absurd.
And GMAC, that's the thing. The thing
True,
with
yeah.
GMAC's size, it's not an arm strength issue. That kid's got
No,
arm
not at all.
strength. He's got arm strength. So I will say that as far as the red shirt conversation with Faison, dude, Heupel feels pressure. That's been kind of a theme of the
True.
offseason with me and Blake on the show, dude, is I totally think that Heupel has felt the pressure of his seat might be warming up a little bit, especially in the fans' minds. Like the coaches and the AD, Danny White, they know how the fans are feeling. The fans had a
Yeah.
really bad taste in their mouth after last season and how it ended. So with that being said, if you know what we've been thinking is true and he does feel the pressure, I think it will be an open competition. I don't think it's going to be like a situation where if Faison gets on campus and he just looks the part, right, and he just looks more developed than GMAC, then I think they're gonna play him. I think they're gonna give him a shot. This is very early on in this discussion. We'll be talking about this throughout the offseason because, as spring practice comes, we'll hear reports out of there, how they both look. But if I had a very early prediction, pretty easy. I think I would say GMAC just because the experience in the system. The size thing, here's the thing about the size. I doesn't it really only matter for injury? Like, aren't you really only worried about it because the guy, might not be able to take a hit? Like, people had the same discussion around Nico, but Nico was never hindered because of his size. He was hindered because he couldn't play
Mhm.
football. Like, he sucked at football. So that was the biggest thing, right? Like, he couldn't play. So that's what hindered him. But I don't think GMAC's size will hinder him at all. I mean, maybe like getting a couple extra yards running the ball, or whatever. Again, it's not an arm strength issue. The kid's strong. He can sling the rock. I think you're really just worried about if he can take a hit or not.
Now you bring up a couple really good points. The Heupel's seat getting hot and that playing a role in it is interesting because it kind of with our NFL fandom, talking a lot about like when teams are in a rebuild mode, but like the coach and GM don't have the luxury of actually thinking about the future when you're trying to
Yeah.
save your job. And
Yeah.
that's kind of similar here where it's like, yes, for the future wise, it probably benefits the program to have Faison redshirted so we have more time with him. But you're right, like he doesn't have the luxury of being able to think 2 or 3 years ahead right now when you got to make sure next season is successful. So I think that's a really good point. And then on the injury front, like it's also one of those things that like size and stuff never it doesn't always translate to it. And like the perfect example for your Colts is AR. Dude's
Yeah.
built like a brick house,
And gets
but
hurt
he gets
constantly.
injured if someone looks at him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like and I think another thing is just being able to take care of yourself. Hopefully, we'll have a solid offensive line in front of him so they can limit the ability he's getting hit anyway. And then if he does move around, he's just got to be able to take care of himself. Don't take unnecessary hits to put yourself for that risk anyway. Which it seems like he didn't in the time we got to see him a little bit. Like I don't think he ever really did.
Mhm.
To be honest, he probably doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't seem
Yeah.
like the type of guy
No,
that
he
wants to
does.
get drilled
He
like that.
doesn't.
So
He really doesn't.
yeah.
And Pete, man, I don't know if you've been reading it. I see it because people come in on Vol Talk chat and they let us know these things. Apparently, him gaining weight is like a diet issue. Like maybe he has like
Yeah,
a gluten thing. Like he's allergic to
saw
gluten,
that.
so he can't gain weight. Kind of interesting.
Difficult.
Because that's tough, man. I mean, because at the end of the day, like if he wants NFL aspirations, he will have to gain weight. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, man. If you had to guess who would be the starter, where would you go with it right now? Early prediction.
My gut agrees. It's GMAC, and I do think it's because of this history we've noticed of time and the system mattering. Because Milton is the perfect example of that. He
Mm,
was terrible when he got here. Like he was pretty bad his first season, but then when Joe took over, like him as a starter, like he wasn't great by any means, but he was substantially better than he was in that first season as a starter. So I do think you're right. Like in terms of that experience matter in this system, even though people say what they will about it being easy, favorable, whatever, I do think the experience within it helps a ton. And which gives even more credit to Aguilar though, where he came in and was able to run it pretty effectively. But that's different than asking a 18-year-old who's coming out of high school to do that and learn a college system, which is so different than high school. So I think my gut's leaning it'll be GMAC as well. But I think regardless, like I could see either leash being pretty short if we get to
yeah.
camp and like the competition is close and it's like we're deciding the starter in like late July or August and we're
Mm,
finding out who our starting quarterback is, then I think
yeah.
there's a solid chance the other guy is right there waiting.
I mean, in fairness, we'll probably hear about it in late July or August, just because I mean
Yeah,
that's when we heard Aguilar and they wait
yeah,
until the very last minute. And I
especially
remember,
Heupel. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And we kind of had that discussion last year, like, is Joey's leash going to be short? Now then Joey came out and like completely balled out. So
completely
that was
dominated. Yeah.
yeah, we never even talked about that again. But yeah, I agree. I do think it'll end up being GMAC. Now, listen, if GMAC doesn't play well, um, Heupel is going to be under some fire, and the reason I say that is QB development has been spotty. It's been spotty. You can argue now. Listen, I think in fairness, it's a small sample, right? I mean, you only get a couple QBs you can develop, and two, they weren't really Heupel's guys that didn't pan out.
Mhm.
Like Milton, for example. Milton did get better. He 100% because he, like you said, he was non-functional when he got here,
Yeah.
but he never really reached the level that we were hoping he did. And then Merklinger, you can argue Merklinger's in that same boat. Merklinger never. Now, again, this was a very small sample as far as how what we saw from Merklinger, but he didn't really seem like he got a whole lot better. And he was here for multiple years. And then Nico. Now Nico, I'll give Heupel a pass on Nico for one because he's so bad. It's like I mean, it's kind of an outlier, but it's also one of those things where we didn't actually see him year two of Heupel's system. So
True.
maybe
Yeah.
who knows? I'm pretty confident how it would have went, but who knows? I guess we'll just say that. But overall, dude, it's like QB development here has been spotty. I mean, like Aguilar came in and played great immediately, but Heupel didn't develop Aguilar, and same with Hendon. Like Hendon that was Heupel's first year with Hendon. Now he got better in year two, but still there wasn't a ton of development there. You could argue.
That's a really good point. And some of the teams, like, Georgia is a good example of they just kind of were churning and burning their own guys, developing freaking walk-ons into Heisman candidates. And Gunner was there waiting
Yeah.
and took over.
Mhm.
Beck was the same way. Ohio State got Sayin, but before that, most of their guys were guys that like Shroud and all these guys they were developing. So it's a really good point. Like a lot of the and Alabama is similar too. A lot of the most successful teams were homegrown from their quarterbacks, sitting in
Yep.
there and then learning the system and getting better. And you're right, we really haven't seen that from somebody that wasn't a transfer that was like an outlier, like Hendon, where he
Yeah.
just has this random season of just pure breakout that um, was probably maybe in hindsight maybe more like attributed to the Heupel offense kind of
Mm.
hitting its peak at that point and like teams not figuring it out quite yet. Not to take anything away from Hendon, but
No, there's a
obviously,
little bit of that. There's definitely a little
yeah,
bit of that. I mean, because we saw the adjustments in 23 and 24 that defenses made, and then Heupel made an adjustment in 25. So,
right.
but yeah, I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see because again, George McIntyre has a year under his belt. We'll see how he looks in development wise. And yeah, it's just something we have to keep a pulse on, man. Because like these things, I mean, we really don't know yet. We have to see how they look. I mean, George McIntyre probably got very little first team reps like last year ever. And Faison obviously has had none because he hasn't been on campus yet. So we'll see what the reports are throughout camp, and we'll kind of keep a pulse on it. Going one real quick last point I'll make as far as their situation around them is going to be. You talked about McIntyre taking hits. Man, I'm thinking this is probably the best offensive line under the Heupel era. Pretty close, I would say, man. I am extremely excited about this offensive line. I think we upgraded. I mean, Lance Hurd, I gave him a lot of credit last year. He got better. But I think Joe Perry and David Sanders at tackle, like,
Yeah.
I think that's a better duo at tackle. And the interior offensive line pretty much stays intact outside of that one guy that we picked up from West Virginia who's really good. Like, man, I mean, this offensive line could be really, really good. I mean, 4 out of the 5 guys have already played together, so there's continuity there. So I think whoever's behind center, they're going to be well protected. And then from a perimeter weapons perspective, I mean, dude, like, yes, you lose Chris Brazel, but you're bringing in Tristan Keys. And I'll remind people, listen, I talk about like what impact true freshmen can have at times. In certain positions, it's harder to make an impact immediately than others. Receiver, dude, we've seen very recent history of receivers coming into college football and making an impact immediately, dude. Like, I could see a world where Tristan Keys, if he's as good as he looks in high school, could come in and be the number one. And Mike Matthews continues to be the 2 and Staley the 3. And then all of a sudden that receiving core is as good, if not better than last year. So whatever quarterback comes in, set up fantastically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, offensive line wise, definitely since 22 at least. When Darnell Wright and all them were
Yeah.
here. But yeah, like as a unit, the experience they have together, and I agree. Like having Perry and Sanders at tackle, because I mean, I give Hurd credit for being better last year, but nobody frustrated me more to watch than that guy because his stance, everything about how he approached the game was just lazy, and it's ridiculous because of how good he could be if he actually applied himself, and he refused to, and that was ridiculous to watch. But yeah, and I don't want to get overhyped on the skill group, but man, Tristan Keys, watching a guy like that, the tape, like that is like Carnell Tate, Devontae Smith, Jeremiah Smith, like these dudes who come in and just dominate college football immediately. He's
Immediately.
got that it factor to him. Like that's what he could be. So it's gonna be insane to see him get added alongside Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley and
And
our
it's
tight end unit.
Yeah, exactly, and it's got depth too. Or Darius Jackson, like Travis Smith, like it's a really good receiving group. That's why I'm pretty. I mean, dude, I'm pretty confident to say this is the best situation a Tennessee quarterback will go into. Um, so I mean, they're going to be set up to succeed. Now the question is, I mean, and again, these are, and we've talked about this before too. GMAC was a 5-star at some point, man. Like they both have the pedigree. So we'll see. We'll see if Apple can develop them and get them ready for 2026. And as we've also talked about this offseason, it's going to be pretty tough for that defense not to get better as well. And I mean, and like we talk about Joey and maybe some of his struggles, like, listen, we're not 8-4 last year if we don't have the 100th ranked defense in the nation. So yeah, we'll see, man. Any last thoughts on this very early QB battle preview?
Yeah, my last thing is to, and I don't want like this is an easy thing to like hindsight pretend that we were more excited last year, but I definitely feel more excited about this quarterback battle than I did last year. Because before,
Oh, I
think about
agree.
before we knew
Totally
what
agree.
Aguilar was, yeah, like we were sitting there thinking, man, I don't love the App State guy that was
Yeah.
at JUCO versus Merklinger. Like this is not looking great. But this year, I feel way more confident from the sample size we saw of GMAC and what to your point, he was also 5-star at one point, and then just what Faison is. I feel pretty confident in being more excited about this competition and the outcome probably being good.
Listen, even though I think Aguilar was a safer bet, now we get the box, man. And the box could be Hendon Hooker. Like it could be even better than Aguilar. Despite Aguilar being fantastic. And again, if I had to pick one, I would pick Aguilar out of the three because he's a safe bet. But you just don't know. You just don't know in George McIntyre. You just don't know with Faison Brandon. Like these could be game-changing talents. And if you add a game-changing talent at quarterback to this already loaded offense, like it could be special, man. It could really be special. And I think Heupel needs a special year out of his quarterback to be completely honest with you. But yeah, we'll keep a pulse on it, man. It's gonna be fun to follow throughout the offseason. But moving on now to the next topic, which is kind of a fun one, dude. Um, I need to send Blake this video. I need to get his reaction to this. But randomly, I believe, one second. I believe last Monday, this was a press conference. They do like little press scrums in the MLB. It's very odd, kind of the look
Yes.
of it.
In the
But
dugout.
yeah, it's like in the dugout exactly. It's a little bit weird. But anyways, randomly Tony Vitello opened the press conference. He was unprovoked. Like he came like ready to say this. Kind of called out the Giants media in a way, or called out somebody. We have the clip. We're going to play the clip for you. It's about a minute, 30 seconds long. There's a longer version. There's about a 3-minute version because Tony likes to talk. But I'll let y'all watch this clip and then we'll kind of give our reaction to it.
When did when did you first think I was taking this job? Do you remember that far back?
Yeah, it was about 4 days before it actually happened. 5 days before.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because that was not reality, at all. I don't know if Buster would feel the same way, but that wasn't the case. Somebody decides they think they got the information. The final blow was about 4 days later. And the thing I'm just kind of having a conversation, therapy, if you will. walking out of there, but I don't. I needed confirmation from the coaches that I worked with that helped boost my status that they were okay with what was going to go on and they were going to be okay with their jobs. You know, that staff had always been built as like next man up, and all of a sudden that was being threatened. So it was kind of hard to do something for yourself and your teammates get left behind. But yeah, it was not 4 days for what it's worth. That was not the case at all. If you would have seen me in my condo, you would have agreed. So, but anyway,
Why do you ask?
because somebody tweeted it out. I don't know who told them. I wish I did. And you know, it might have changed the course of history if I would have known who did. To be honest with you.
So there's a few things in that clip I found pretty interesting, Dakota. We'll kind of start with the end of it because I cut it off at the moment where he said, if I would have known who tweeted it out, if I would have known who leaked the information, essentially, then it could have changed the course of history. Very interesting line because I mean, essentially implying like if he knew who leaked this information, which I think the implication is, Dakota, that it was the Giants organization. I think the Giants organization is the implication, and they were trying to pressure getting a deal done. If he would have known that, it sounds like Vitello may be still the Tennessee head baseball coach. It's just the timing of this is really interesting, dude, because remember, it's been what, 4 months since this has taken place? It's been several months now that's taken place. And this was the Monday after opening weekend for Tennessee baseball. And to add even more context to that, for those who have not been watching Tennessee baseball, Lindsey Nelson just finished a huge renovation, dude. It is absolutely gorgeous now. They broke the attendance record on the first day of opening weekend last weekend, and the team looks really good. And by the way, Vitale recruited every single one of those players, including the transfers on the team. Like, he recruited all of them. It's very interesting, dude. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, what do you think about Tony calling out the Giants media here?
It's really interesting. Like, it's hard to not buy into that as being remorseful to some degree. And I think you're right. The timing of it is not a coincidence. Like, he watched that team, to your point, that he built, that stadium that at the end of the day he also kind of built. What he did to the university is what helped fund that. And I think it immediately sent a feeling through him of looking back, you know, getting caught kind of looking in the rearview mirror a bit, and probably, like anybody that moves on to something new, when you see, you know, the thing you left behind, having fun and churning on, like, it's hard to not miss that, especially since baseball season hasn't started yet, like MLB.
Exactly. He probably misses it.
Exactly. So right now he's just sitting in the off season, and I think it says a lot. It is fascinating because it's hard to dissect everything about that, and like the implication on almost insinuating that he wouldn't have potentially taken the job if things didn't blow up the way that it did, and almost force his hand. But it does, to your point, it does sound like he's directing that at the Giants media. I don't think it's a Tennessee media thing. I think it was somebody probably in that dugout with him at that moment.
Yeah.
That was the one that leaked that info.
I mean, it sounded like it might have been the chick right beside him who he directly asked. Yeah. So, yeah, dude, it was, listen, I mean, it made me miss Tony's press conferences, dude. I used to watch literally almost every Tony Vitello press conference after baseball games the last couple of seasons. He's just incredibly entertaining. And you could tell this was festering, dude. Like, either he was holding it back for 4 months and he maybe planned on never saying it. But then, to your point, he watched the team that he recruited. He saw that new stadium. He's like, dude, I got to get this off my chest. I just have to get it off my chest. I think that's probably where it came from. Again, the timing is not a coincidence. It just can't be. It's not a coincidence because it's too well timed. It's literally the Monday after the first weekend in college baseball, and he probably misses it. He probably misses the guys, and he probably misses Knoxville, and he really loved it here and things like that. One of the other interesting part of that was when he said the final blow wasn't until 4 days later. Um, I don't know. I wonder what the final blow was. Like, what was the final blow? Was that just you making the decision that you wanted to go to the MLB and test out the next level? Or was it something else? Like, if you've kept up with the show, Dakota, or if you've just heard rumors on Twitter, a lot of people believe him leaving wasn't just because he was going to chase his dream. I am still kind of in that camp. I'm still, I could be convinced if I have the right person talking to me, but I'm still kind of in the camp that Tony Vitello just wanted to go test out the MLB because he never played there as a player. And it's no matter what he says, and he said multiple times it wasn't his dream. It's everyone's dream to play at a professional
If
level.
you're a baseball guy.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a baseball guy, you want to play in the MLB. And he didn't have the talent to do so as a player. Now he's being offered to as a coach at a great organization. Like, of course you're going to take that. However, there is a good portion of our fan base, kind of led by Tony Basello. I'm not going after Tony Basello, by the way. So if you're a big fan of his show, whatever. I'm not going after him. I'm just relaying what he said, which was essentially that it had a lot to do with Danny White and how Danny White was the kind of lack of support for the baseball team in a way. And what he meant by lack of support, obviously with the facilities, he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about with NIL revenue sharing and how specifically women's basketball got more revenue sharing than baseball. And listen, I mean, if that is true, I kind of understand Tony Vitello's criticism of that. I kind of understand that. But I don't know if we know if that's true or not. But when he says final blow, like what is the final blow? Was it, again, just making the decision, or was it a conversation with Danny White that really was the final blow, and maybe it had to do with that revenue sharing and whatnot?
I can easily buy into that because of the way that he phrased some of that about when he said, and then he had his first and third base coach, going off on him a bit. To me, it tells me that while he was in the early days of these conversations, it seems almost like he didn't disclose it to anybody, meaning the team or potentially Danny as well, that they did not know he was in community. Like, clearly the team didn't. His staff did not know
Had
he
no
was
idea.
talking to the Giants. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Danny didn't either. And I do wonder if that could be, to your point, the final blow is when he did have that conversation with him of basically, how do you keep me here? Or let's talk about this. And I'm guessing I wouldn't be shocked if Danny didn't handle it well. And then when his team then blew up on him, he probably got put in this horrible spot of like, you got to make a decision of your commitment to be here right now. And like with how upset this team, blah, blah, blah. And that could have, if to your point, if he was already frustrated with Danny, if that's the way he handled the situation, I would 100% believe that being a tipping point for you.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. It's why I'm kind of like, listen, I think at the end of the day, it's not a one or the other kind of deal. It's definitely a combination of both. Like Vitello has had many opportunities to coach, quote, blue bloods in college baseball, and he's denied them all. Like if he was not going to leave Tennessee baseball for another program. He's way too loyal. And the fact that it took him 4 days to decide that he wanted to go to the major leagues and coach the Giants. I mean, the Giants are like a top 5 to 10 organization in baseball. Like it's incredible that that's how much motion Tennessee had in Tony's heart. Like Tony really wanted to be here, but at the end of the day, dude, like, I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. It definitely seems like maybe it wasn't an issue in the moment. Like maybe it wasn't an issue that particular season, but it's definitely been an issue in the past. There's no question it's been an issue in the past. And listen, Danny White, let's be honest. He's not the most supported guy right here on campus at the moment. He doesn't have overwhelming support. And listen, Blake's not here. I'll give Blake a shout out. He texted me today or yesterday and was like, dude, when you think about it, Danny White's hires are Kim Caldwell and Josh Heupel. And like, listen, we're not out on Heupel, okay? But the Caldwell thing's not going so well. We'll have a Lady of All update later, but those two hires aren't as great as they once looked, Dakota. At the end of the day, they're just not. And you can't give the guy credit for hiring Elander. If Elander works out, like Elander was
Not at
already
all.
there. Like he doesn't get credit for that. Like he didn't even. The funny thing is, he did a search. He did a search, and a lot of fans were upset about that. It's like, what are we doing a search for? Like the answer is right here in our backyard. Hire Elander immediately. So Danny White has lost a lot of support, dude. A lot of it kind of justified. Okay, a lot of it justified with how he's handled fan interactions on Twitter. As far as the entertainment district is concerned. And I will just say, I have a lot of love, dude. We've been doing segments every week for the Lady Vols. We try to mention them in the show every week. Might not be doing like in-depth breakdowns, but we give them a lot of love, and I have a lot of love for the Lady Vols because I know it's a absolute premier program in the country. But dude, if it's true that we had the opportunity to give more share to baseball and support the, again, national championship winning baseball team, dude, like literally revived this program from nothing, has become Dakota my second favorite sport. And I get like Danny White's not gonna listen. He's the AD for Tennessee Volunteers. He's not gonna say, "Oh, screw the Lady Vols." I understand that, but at the end of the day, dude, we just won a national championship in baseball. You got to support your national championship winning head baseball coach, and Tony Vitello, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And yeah, and on the Danny White front too, with the Heupel hire, it's like that was the guy he already knew from
Mm-hmm.
Central Florida as well. So it's like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't even really like go out and find a guy. Like he was already makes it look worse, especially if he doesn't pan out here. If we end up ever having to move on from Heupel, that's a tough look. But yeah, I definitely, and I think you're right where it's like a combination of the two because yeah, like Vitello was presented with the opportunity to be the first to ever do something. And like in what world, how many people in life can pass up on opportunities like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like something unheard of, you get to do they have come to you, like they reached out to you. You were sought out for this opportunity specifically. And and I think it says so much about his love for this university and your point about how he never left for a blue blood because he was presented with that. And it sounds like, and it still sounds like it was the hardest decision on anything he's ever had to make in his life. And
Yep.
it possibly didn't go the direction he may have originally intended had
Yep.
conversations been able to go through the way that he had wanted them to. So
Exactly.
that says a lot about him and his love for this university. And now, funnily enough, he finds himself in an interesting situation where he went from people being excited about him being there to now he's going to have to go after some other writers because now there's some writing out there from Giants reporters that's a little unfavorable now.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's got a lot of heat. He's got a lot of heat from Giants media and from the fan base. Like they want him to move on from Tennessee. Newsflash to the Giants fans, that ain't happening. My guess is Tony's opening words in his next press conference, dude. I don't want to put pressure on Tony. I would be shocked if he doesn't mention Wes Rucker in his next press conference. I mean, I would be floored if he doesn't. My guess is maybe he forgot. Like, I genuinely, like, he's never going to stop loving this university. He told realtors after he accepted the job, "Stop calling me. I'm not moving. I'm staying here. Like, I'm gonna have a house here. We have an off season, and I plan on being here during the off season." So he has a ton of love. And Dakota, compare it to how other coaches have left organizations. I mean, just go back to the team that we beat in the national championship. Texas A&M head coach literally rips into reporters after losing the national championship saying, "Why would you ask me about leaving for Texas?" Like literally shaming the guy in the press conference when news breaks the next day that he's going to Texas. And not only that, the dude was contacting recruits to go to
Leading
Texas
up
while
the game.
he was coaching in the national championship. Like, and dude, that's not even leaving to go to the MLB. I guarantee 100% of college baseball coaches, given the opportunity to leave to be an MLB manager, are taking it 100% of the time. And the fact that we have probably the only guy in the entire country, or we had the only guy in the entire country that even debated the decision, there wouldn't be no debate with like 95% of coaches. It would be an immediate yes. So listen, I mean, I still got love for Tony, and I see this. And listen, Twitter's not a good indication of real life, but I will say I have seen some fans like, "Oh, we got to move on, like it's Elander time." Dude, I'm not gonna stop talking about my the coach that literally made me fall in love with Tennessee
Mhm.
baseball. Like it's still very relevant topic, very interesting topic in my opinion. And I got a lot of love for Elander. We're literally about to talk about the baseball game here in a second, and he's doing a phenomenal job so far. But dude, listen, this is interesting stuff. And I found the press conference very interesting, and it sounds like from what you're reading, he's catching a lot of flack from it and from local Giants media.
Yeah, I'll read a quote here in a second. But yeah, I mean, you're right, man. Like I'm pretty open about the fact I was never really a baseball person. Like growing up, baseball was the sport I just did not catch on to whatsoever. And you're right. Vitello is what made me start liking baseball and the
Same here,
Vols. And
man.
now I have dove in and it's spread even beyond just college baseball for me now, where like I'm more interested in the sport, and it is
Mhm.
because of him. So like we can't just forget that. He's also brought us a national championship, the first ever,
First
and
ever.
also the first major championship for our program since the mid 2000s when Pat
Yes,
won her last one. So like
exactly.
it's what he did is monumental to this university. So no, we're not going to just stop talking about the guy suddenly
Exactly,
like
dude.
that, and we can still love Elander and do that. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah,
But like
totally.
this this quote though, I mean they're ripping into him a bit where somebody was basically this Andrew Baggarly, who's a
Mhm.
senior writer for the Giants, saying essentially insinuating that did Vitello fail to appreciate the distinction between a job being offered and accepted, kind of like calling him
Mm.
out, saying like he didn't understand, like it would as part of how he handled the process, and basically said that for someone seeking to prove that they can make the transition from an amateur background, his rear view focus on Monday probably wasn't the most professional look. And then there's a quote at the end, which is, um, if someone's watching it, they might be like, "Hey, let's make sure you know what shade of orange you're wearing there."
Oof.
So
Listen,
that's how they ended the article.
and I think they probably have a good pulse on the Giants fan base, and a lot of Giants fans feel that way. Again, you got the wrong guy. You don't know enough about Vitello. He's not.
Yeah.
He still shows love for Arkansas to this day, and he was there as an assistant. He's not going to stop showing love to the Tennessee fan base and Tennessee baseball. He's just not going to. But also another thing is that's not going to impact his ability to win. It's just not going to. It's not like he's not focused as Giants. Dude, all the reports I've heard, this is what's so funny to me. It's like it's just a quote at the press conference. Like that means more than what's actually happening. All I've heard since he's been hired as the Giants manager is how hard he's working. He's literally going on like basically pseudo recruiting visits to players already on his roster across the world. Like he was literally going to visit his own players in their home countries just to build relationships with them. And I've also seen several interviews from players on the Giants that seem to love him. They seem to love him immediately. Like
Yeah.
he's out there taking BP with them, like actually being amongst them. It's a total different vibe for them. So maybe it's different, but they seem to love the guy.
And I'm going to continue to call it this Andrew guy because I think some of this is a bit unfair because it comes back to just this world of coach speak. Because, like, to your point, like, what Schlesinger did was like the opposite, where he was like literally yelling at somebody for basically insinuating the thing that was literally done. Like, in all things considered, he probably went and signed that contract right after that press conference.
Yeah.
And, and, but this, in this article, they say it's probably not a good thing to invite any doubt about whether he truly wanted to leave Knoxville for San Fran. And I hate that as an idea because I don't think there's any major decision people make in their life that doesn't leave doubt. I
Yes,
think
of
every single
course.
coach that's ever accepted a head coaching job had some doubt in what you're
Dude,
doing, man. That's part of it.
it's a ridiculous. You know the best example of this, Dakota, is that Nick Saban to this day regrets the LSU decision. To
Mm-hmm.
this day, he had doubts about leaving LSU for Miami. And it's like,
Miami,
dude,
yeah.
like, and he's the greatest head coach ever. So get out of here with that. Like, if you don't have doubts about making a major decision like that in your life, you're just not a human. You're just not a real human. You're an
No,
AI. Like that doesn't make any sense. Um,
it doesn't. You can't
So
expect them to like make everything coach speak like that. Is what
yeah,
you're wanting there.
exactly.
This just coach speak of just, oh yeah, I wanted nothing more than to be here at done. Sorry.
Exactly. It's like, dude, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it's so funny because media members like criticize coach speak so much. They criticize
Yeah.
it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you're not getting coach speak out of Vitello. I can tell you that. You are not getting that. And it's unfortunate, man. It seems like he's already butting heads with media. Now I'm assuming that will change if he wins. Like everything's made right if you win. But if he doesn't win, I mean, and I'm supporting him. Listen, I'm supporting him. I'm a pseudo Giants fan from going here on out. But dude, if he doesn't win, it could end ugly and it could end quick.
Yeah, that interview will get turned into a meme.
Yes,
That will start circulating every time they are losing games.
no doubt about it. But yeah, interesting discussion, and listen, we're gonna keep covering Vitello because he's interesting. I love Elander. I got a lot of love for Elander. I think he's gonna do great here. He ain't got the personality of Vitello. Nobody has the personality of Vitello, so it's gonna be a topic we continue to cover when there's news out there. So, but with that being said, Dakota, let's go ahead and move on to the baseball review. This is we're actually pre-recording this on Saturday. We actually haven't seen the basketball game or the baseball game yet on Saturday, but this video will drop on Sunday, so y'all will know the results of the rest of the baseball series and the Vanderbilt basketball game today before we do. But last night, pretty awesome game overall. Like, I mean, we were honoring Wes Rucker and his family. Moment of silence before the game started. And then you mentioned, and I also saw on Twitter that they had a memorial set up for him in the press box, which was really, really cool. And no better way to cap off the night than hitting a walk-off home run to win the baseball game. Tyler Myatt was the one who hit the homer. Dakota, if you don't know a lot about Myatt, he transferred from Walter State Community College from around here. Funny enough, is very near my alma mater of Carson Newman, around the same area. Was a great JUCO player, absolutely incredible JUCO player. His first AB as a Tennessee Volunteer, he went yard. That was last weekend, his first AB, and now he has this walk-off home run. Unbelievable start to the year. The kid's like 4 for 8 with 2 doubles and 2 home runs on the year so far. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to find a position yet, like on the like defensively, but is an insanely good hitter. So he's going to be a huge factor going forward, man.
I mean, this staff's ability to find guys like that in the portal is uncanny. Like, just they have a type and they go find it, man, from wherever in the country, man. They find him and they bring him in, and yeah, I mean, yeah, that walk off was really cool. You mentioned with Wes's kind of tribute there in the press box. So winning that game off of a walk off is pretty awesome. And yeah, 5 games in, not been fully tested yet, but only given up 23 hits in 5 games, only averaging like 4 hits a game, and only giving up like 9 runs, I think. So the pitching has been solid. Especially across the first 5 games of the season.
It really has. I mean, not only pitching, dude, the infielding and defensive fielding in general has been much better than last year. Like our defensive fielding is much improved over last year. I will say early on, very early in the season, as you said, not really tested. I will say Kent State's got some dudes, man. They had an outfielder make an unbelievable catch, diving catch, and people were literally like tweeting out after the game, like, dude, we need to get this guy here next year. Like tamper him in the portal because that dude was unbelievable. Overall, they were honestly, Kent State was very good defensively in this game. Kind of had our hitters in a bind. There was not a lot of guys that could get going. But again, Tyler Myatt pinched hit for Ariel Antigua at the end of the game because again, he can't really find a position defensively, and literally first AP of the game goes yard for a walk-off, dude. So I mean, when I see that, it's like your first AB as a Tennessee Volunteer, you go yard, and then you pinch hit in a situation where, I mean, listen, it's baseball, so it's okay to drop a game here and there, but you don't want to drop a game this early to get a team like Kent State. You come in, you hit a walk-off homer in a 3-3 situation. Like, this guy, not only can he hit, got ice in his veins, dude. Like, going to Walter State, probably grew up around here, always wanted to play for Tennessee baseball. Obviously, that was a dream of his. He said that. He's literally said that along the way, that this has been a dream of his entire life. So, but apparently you don't feel pressure because your first AB you go yard and now you hit a walk off. So that's going to be a guy I'm looking to watch. I think they're going to have him in the lineup today. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think they're going to find a way. I mean, you kind of have to. When the guy's 4 for 8 with 2 home runs and 2 doubles, like you kind of have to find a place in the lineup. Just real quick, I'll also go over Tegan Kuhn's performance. When Coons is in the strike zone, he is so good, man. Like he is so good. But he hit like 2 or 3 batters yesterday. He has the controls not always there, but he's really hard to get hits off of. Like they barely, I don't even know if he gave up a hit. I think he did at some point, but most of his offensive or lack of defensive production was really just hitting batters and walking guys, not getting it in the zone. So excited to see his development. If he can get it under control, he's going to be really good this year because he's very tough to get hits off of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one key thing, I don't think anybody had any doubts on this either, but like I think in the minimal sample size of games so far, like the identity of this team is still the same. Like, it is still the same culture. 100%. It's still the same tenacity. It is the same culture that Vitello built. And I don't think anybody doubted Elander would continue carrying that, but it's just still cool to see that. And the way we won against Kent State, but overall just how the team has performed and acted.
And dude, that's what makes them so fun to watch. Like it's, to me, watching Tennessee baseball, Dakota, it's a totally different sport than what we grew up watching. Like it's totally different. It's so electric. Like I'm actually on the edge of my seat. Instead, like when I grew up watching baseball, where there's major leagues or whatever, it was kind of boring to me. I'll be honest. It was boring to me. Watching this Tennessee baseball team is never boring. Mostly because the offensive production, but it's also just the passion that they play with, which again, you have to contribute to Tony Vitello. I mean, Elander had a big part of that, recruiting these guys, and he's carrying that along. But I mean, of course, you have to give the credit to Vitello building that culture. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I would be remiss if I did where I would regret not bringing up Blaine Brown during the midweek. We didn't get to cover this because we do one show a week, but Blaine Brown during the midweek, who has been up until this point probably our best hitter, he pitches. He started pitching again in the midweek game. Had 3 strikeouts, dude. Scoreless inning. Actually, maybe it was only 2 strikeouts. But either way, scoreless inning. Started the game. Now he was taken out pretty quickly. But dude, apparently we have the Shohei Ohtani of college baseball, which is dude, and he's been really fun to watch offensively, and now he's pitching, dude. He's going to be a very fun player to keep an eye on this year.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be pretty cool to have a legitimate college version of Ohtani. That's quite the mark to live up to. But I mean, even if you can remotely pull that off, that would be
exactly. It'd be huge. It'd be unbelievable. So that's our baseball update. We'll bring y'all more as we get more. Like I said, we won't know the result of those other 2 games until after this airs. So but yeah, moving on now to basketball update. Men's basketball team has kind of started turning it around, Dakota. Me and Blake have been kind of following this, dude. Like, if you take out, and I'll say this all year because it's like a theme of the year for me. If you just don't blow 2 double-digit leads to our biggest rival in Kentucky, like, all of a sudden I think we have a contender on our hands, dude. Like, because mostly on the back of the development of our true freshman Nate Hammett. Totally different player from the start of the year, dude. All around, like from all phases of the game. He's gotten better defensively. He's more aggressive. And Dakota, he's become, dude, if you look at his free throw numbers, which by the way, he's gotten better at getting to the foul line because he's been more aggressive, but he's also hitting him more. He's missed like 2 free throws in the last 4 games. He's been automatic from the free throw line, which is kind of changes the math. Like if you can get to the foul line and hit your foul shots, then you're going to be putting up 20 to 30 points a game, which is what he did against Oklahoma in the midweek. He had 29 points in that game.
Yeah, you're right. And both those games were brutal to watch because it was absolute monumental collapses at the end. And it sucks to see Pope kind of own Barnes like that as well. But we'd literally be on a 10-game winning streak right now. had we not lost those 2 Kentucky games. And even then, it's still, I mean, 8-2 in our last 10 feels pretty good. And yeah, you're right, because like, dude, early in the season, how many memes and stuff there were about Ament. Like all
Yes.
the fans that were like, of course we get the one
I know.
lottery pick guy that's a bum and stuff. Like they were roasting him because he was not fun to watch at the beginning of the season. He wasn't, like, objectively. But he has gotten it together. Now he's incredible to watch. And between him and Gillespie, like, they're kind of carrying the team for the most part on their back. It's really those two doing most of the
Yes.
work. And the gritty, especially scoring wise, like if they're not on, it's
Oh,
tough.
It's over.
But yeah, but so glad to see him develop like that. And yeah, like if he continues, because I mean, his ceiling is so high.
So
So
high,
if he
dude.
can continue through the rest of, like, we only have what, 5 games left before we get to SEC tourney time. But if he can get it together over the next 10 as we get into the SEC tournament and then into the NCAA, who knows? Who knows, man? This
Dude,
team could make a run.
it's the time to get hot, dude. And I mean, it's completely changed this team, his development. It's 2 completely different ball clubs. Now, you are right. That him and Gillespie are the offensive plan. I will say, shout out to Gillespie too. He broke the all-time single game steals record against Oklahoma with 8 steals. And remember, he was out of the portal, like he was a two-way guy as well. Like he really good defender, but also can put up some points offensively. So, dude, I mean, this team is kind of getting right at the right time. I don't know if the depth's there. Our bench has not been good all year long. It's really been reliant on those starters again, especially offensively. And I don't know. We are a good defensive team, but it's not. I don't think we're close to what Rick Barnes teams typically are defensively. But I'm excited about it, man. At least they're starting to play better. They're way more watchable than they were at the beginning of the year, dude.
Yeah.
Interest in basketball for me was an all-time low to start the year, especially with Ament just not being the player that we thought he was going to be. But like we said, he's found a way to develop and look a lot better.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like the team was a little brutal.
It was.
And those Kentucky games were still sores within all of that because the last one especially was just
I know, man.
a train wreck at the end. But yeah, like you're right. This team feels a lot like most of the Rick Barnes era teams we've had, though, where if we don't have the 1 or 2 guys that can score on, we collapse. And then to your
Nobody
point,
else.
though, the defense isn't quite as good as it's been in the past, which makes that even tougher in those situations. And then the other aspect, especially as you get into tournament play, is Ament's free throws gotten better, but as a team, we're still under like 70%, just under. And so that's tough when you get into the crunch time of games, being able to close out what will always be close games when you get into the tournament. So that can end up coming back to bite, especially in those close ones.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened in the Kentucky games. I will say, you said Pope owns Barnes. Listen, from a record perspective, that's true, but I had to remind a Kentucky fan, because the Kentucky fan came in here last time they beat us, and was like, "Oh, Pope's 4-1 against Barnes," and I had to remind him. What was the one though? That one was pretty important. Pretty important game in the Sweet 16. I will say that one had the most on it. So if I had to pick to be on one side of that equation, I'd probably take the Sweet 16 victory.
That's fair. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's the update on the men's basketball. Huge game today. The game's probably happening as we speak. Dakota against Vanderbilt. Top. Well, I don't even think we're in the top 25 yet. They're top 25. Yeah, they are though. So we'll see. I think we have 2 games against Vanderbilt down the stretch here. We also go at Alabama. Or no, excuse me, they come here. Actually, I think they come here, right? So we want to get that one. We want to get that one, especially after the Bediako situation and that whole craziness and the fact that judge pushed that through. I want to sweep them this year. And those Vandy games, dude, that's going to be huge as far as our seeding is concerned. Like that's our last opportunities outside of the SEC tournament to get quality wins for the tournament. So, and seeding purposes. So. Huge games down the stretch.
Yeah, a couple road tests before. By the time you and Blake do the next show, we got Vanderbilt today, and then we'll get Missouri, and then we'll have Alabama. I guess it depends on when you all go live because the Alabama game may happen as well. But a couple road tests, and then Alabama most likely before the next Vol talk.
So huge games coming up.
Yeah.
Huge games coming up. So we'll keep a pulse on it as always. But last but not least, we're going to end with our Lady Vols. We got a little Lady Vols doubleheader, Dakota. Going to at least mention how hot of a start the softball team is off to, man. The softball team is ranked number 1 in the country after last weekend. We didn't get to cover it because we pre-recorded last weekend as well. But last weekend, they went on a tear in a tournament, dude. They beat like 4 top 10 teams, like 6 total top 25 teams, and look dominant doing it, like completely blowing them out. They're completely undefeated right now and number 1 in the country.
This team is absurd.
Insane,
I
dude.
think they've given up 2, 3, 4 runs and 5 runs in their 12-0 record right now, which
That's
includes wins over
unreal.
number 21 Liberty, number 5 Oregon, number 11 Nebraska, number 23 Florida Atlantic, number 6 UCLA, who I think was number 4 at the time, number 7 Florida State, who was at top 5 as well when they played. UCLA may have actually been number 2 or 3 when they beat them, and Florida State I think was number 4, and they beat them 11-0 and 9-1. Like they beat UCLA in 5 innings. They ended that 2 innings. They beat them that
Good
badly in
Lord,
that
dude.
game. They have been dominant.
Yeah, this team, I mean, with how dominant they've been, first of all, we're gonna have to start covering them more on Vol Talk. I will say, like, if you win it like that, we gotta have a segment on Vol Talk for you. But for 2, man, this is a championship caliber team. I mean, this is an opportunity to add another major championship to the belt. So shout out to the softball team. Hopefully continue that dominance. 5 runs in 12 games. I didn't realize. I saw some of the scores. I was like, dang, they are destroying what should be top 10 teams. But 5 runs in 12 games, that is unreal defense. And the offense is pretty dang solid too. So we'll continue to cover that, especially if they're playing as well as they are. Unfortunately, sorry, go ahead. You got another stat
One
for
more,
us?
yeah. Dude, the stats are ridiculous. I think they've outscored their opponents like 76-5 or 6 or whatever. Like it is absurd what they are doing.
And dude, the schedule's been tough. Like, I mean, we're talking 6 top 25 wins here and 4 top 10. Unreal,
Absurd.
dude. Yeah, I mean, that's just like you couldn't have had you literally can't have a better start to the year.
They're also playing tonight. So we got 3 Vols teams playing today.
Man, loaded day of volunteer sports is literally what I'm going to go do after I get off the show here, this pre-recording. And real quick, I will say with the pre-recording, probably should have said this early in the show. Shout out to the chat. I'm going to try to run this live. It's either going to be premiered or live. So shout out to the chat. Sorry, we can't respond in the video, but I'll try to respond in the chat and watch along with you guys. But unfortunately, not all Lady Vols are doing that great. The Lady Vols basketball team has been on a rough skid, man. Really rough skid. Kind of started with South Carolina just clobbering us. You could argue the UConn game too, because the UConn game, it's like you're tied at halftime, like you're really competitive, but then you end up losing by 30. The South Carolina game, though, was expected to be closer than it was, and it just didn't. It just was not competitive. And then, as Blake and I discussed, we had another tough game against Texas. You play that game super tough, but then since then, dude, it's just been a collapse. I mean, this whole season is collapsing.
It is, man. Like they started 14-3, and then actually, funnily enough, what actually kind of like triggered this event is when they had to reschedule that Ole Miss game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that because the weather.
We're 14-3 going into that, rescheduled that, and apparently that threw off the entire season because then
no doubt
they've gone 2-6 in their last 8. And like I've honestly been able to watch some of the Lady Vols in some instances more than the men's this year, just because of how the games have when they've been on. And like it's been pretty disappointing over the last month. That UConn game was a bit embarrassing. And then the South Carolina one was literally like the worst loss ever. Like it was a 43-point loss. That was embarrassing. And then, to be honest, the most recent loss to Texas A&M is probably
the worst
of them all. They were 10-11 going into that game, and it was in Knoxville.
Yeah, it was. It was literally at Thompson Bowling, dude. Like, what are we doing? And I will say, a lot of people, I mean, especially people that like the baseball team a little bit more than the Lady Vols team, not happy with Kim Caldwell's performance as of recent. Very reasonable to have doubts at this point. Very, very reasonable because listen, the expectations were a lot higher this year. The recruiting was a lot better. The roster was should have been better on paper than last year. It has not performed that way. But Dakota, that's not even the problem for me. To me is, and I was talking to you a little bit about this before the show, but
Mhm.
the her attitude, right? Like she has a certain attitude to her, which is fun when you're winning. But when you're losing, it comes off as being a sore loser, and it's just not an overall great look for the program. I'll be totally honest. How she reacted after the Ole Miss game, and listen, I'll preface this statement by I don't know any context behind her reaction after that game. If she has beef with that coach, or if that coach
Mhm.
and her players were acting disrespectful, I really don't know. But there's been multiple little instances of this now to say it's like it might be a Kim Caldwell issue more than a specific issue with that Ole Miss coach. But after that game, she basically refused to shake the hand. I mean, she shook her hand, but it was like one of those things
Didn't
where
even
she
look
was,
at her. Yeah.
yeah, she didn't even look at her. She ran by her. And this was a game we were expected to win, by the way, or at least be more competitive in, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like you said, the A&M game, like it's been a monumental collapse as far as wins and losses are concerned, but it's also her attitude. It doesn't look great right now, man. It's just not looking good.
Now, culture-wise, starting to be a bit concerned. But yeah, and to be honest, the way the Ole Miss coach reacted, it surprised her a bit. Like she was just kind of
Mm,
looking back, like I don't know. It does worry you a little bit because some of the
yeah.
players also kind of were acting a certain way after that as well, with shaking that coach's hand. And I don't know. You just lost by 13. You need to own that. Like
Hmm.
let's not act like that in that post game. And then here's the thing, man. Like we talk about seats getting hot and stuff. They're 2-6. There's a solid chance they're 2-9 in their last
Mm,
11. They
I
finished the season
oh
at
no.
number 11 Oklahoma, at number 7 LSU, and then they get number 5 Vanderbilt at home to close the season. I'm sorry, they're not going to be favored in any
Yikes.
of those games by any
No,
chance.
they
LSU,
will
like, especially
not.
on the road, like it's solid chance that the taste in Danny White's mouth for this Lady Vols team going into the SEC tournament is terrible. So I don't know, man. This has a season. This has the potential to be an absolute monumental collapse to a season, and
Mm.
it could not bode well for the future of Kim Caldwell here.
I am, man. This kind of opens the Danny White can of worms again for me because how listen, we just kind of talked about, and again, shout out to Blake. He was the one that pointed this out to me that his two major hires are Heupel and Caldwell. How much does he just back Caldwell because he doesn't want
True.
to get egg in his face? And listen, the whole rumor around Danny White is he's not a very personable guy and whatever. It's kind of interesting that he hired Kim Caldwell, who doesn't seem like the most personable woman. And then like Heupel, he doesn't have much of a personality. I mean, I don't know. I like Heupel, and I think Kim Caldwell could turn it around. But I mean, to your point, dude, it might not be this year. It might not be this year. It doesn't look good down the stretch, man. And I don't know. I'm assuming they're still going to make the tournament despite losing out. If they do lose out, I really I haven't. I don't keep up with women's basketball bracketology, but yeah, man, I think honestly, I think it's critical for her to get an upset in these next 3 weeks. I think it's critical for a culture standpoint. And dude, listen, we have the most passionate, loud fan base in the world. Like you have to give like the fan base some hope too, or else you'll lose support of again a very a vocal fan base that will let you know when you're not doing great.
100%. Yeah. And I don't know the bracketology either. I feel like for some reason it's usually a lot easier to get in the women's tournament. We're actually like the Alabama effect for women's basketball with football, where like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the Lady
They just
Vols are
let us in.
remotely in the run.
Mhm.
Because like, and the other benefit is being in the SEC that's absolutely stacked and always having a tough schedule because we're the Lady Vols. They have a couple ranked wins, and then pretty much they do have losses to number 3, number 9, number 4, number 3, number 1, like, and then they play 7 and 5. So they're gonna have a lot of these losses will be top 10, which again is the standard that we need to get back to. Also
Correct.
not getting losing by 8 to a 10 and 11 A&M team. So it's tough,
Yeah,
man. Because like at the
at
beginning of
home.
the season, we lost to them or not. NC State wasn't even ranked that high then, but they ended up being pretty good and lost that game by 3, and then lost to UCLA. Wasn't super close, but was okay. and like it was excusable, and then turned it around after that and beat Alabama and Kentucky, who were both ranked. So like I was in the moment of like, okay, Caldwell's figuring it out. We've got it together. And then that Ole Miss game gets moved, and like apparently
Fell
that just
apart.
broke everything. It completely collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I get, me and Blake have talked about kind of the disparity of competition in women's sports. So I get losing to like top 10 and top 10 teams, or
Yeah.
top 5 and top 10 teams, but losing to A&M at home, who's a really terrible basketball team, not good. It's not good. So we'll see how they turn it around. We're going to continue to shout them out and try to support them on the show. But yeah, man, any final thoughts on any of the Lady Vols or anything from the show?
Not really, man. Got a lot of stuff today. Yeah, honestly, yeah, we gotta find ways to watch the lady softball, or the
Yeah.
softball lady balls a bit more.
No doubt.
Because we're looking like a baseball softball school now.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. We gotta support the teams that are actually winning, I guess.
Winning. Yeah.
So yeah, kind of a jam-packed show. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. If you liked the show, if you liked what me and Dakota said at all, you can like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Appreciate all the support in the off season. Things have tapered off a little bit, but especially right when the off season hit, the support was kind of insane. So appreciate all of that. And like I said, liking and subscribing just helps us out and helps grow the show and whatnot. But like I said, it was a jam-packed show, kind of covered every single sport on campus pretty much. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching, and we will catch y'all next time. GBO.